welcome to Community Forum. I'm Heather Hansen O'Neill, and as usual, our focus when I'm here is on inspiration, connection, and contribution. And today, I'm certain we are going to hit all three. I am very excited to have two amazing friends and business people here today. Let me introduce them briefly. I've got Christopher Campanaro and Samantha Baker. They are husband and wife team. They came from Stanford to Bethel about 2 years ago. Christopher is an experienced accountant and a local entrepreneur, and Samantha is an inspired educator. And they both also own the Big Top Baggage Wagon, which is a company that specializes in vintage home decor. They are very interested in giving back to the community, and that is how I came to know them. Christopher and Samantha, I'm going to do it. Chris and Sam,
there we go.
I hope you don't mind. It's just more fun that way for me. Welcome. I am thrilled to have you on the show today. Before we get into some of the juicy good stuff that I would like to talk about, is there anything that you would like to share about your background? I know I gave a very brief background. Is there anything that you'd like to share with us today? Or how you got here? Or should I jump into it?
We can jump right in.
I can jump right in?
Let's jump right in.
Okay, so Chris and Sam came to me last year with this idea. Well, they came to the chamber for their business, the Big Top Baggage Wagon, and we talked about that, and they, of course, they just, you know, it's not everybody that walks in the way you guys did. You had such great energy, and you're like, well, in addition to this business thing, we want to give back. And immediately had this amazing idea for Neighbors Help Neighbors. And I'd like you to just share a little bit about what you brought to me and where we are so far with that. Like, what's the purpose? And also, if one of you wants to take like the purpose of what we're doing here and the other one wants to talk about how you came up with the idea, that would be great. So who would like what? You want to? You want to rock, paper, scissors? No.
Well, we could talk about how we came up with the idea first.
Great.
We were driving through Bethel after we recently moved there, and we were just really enjoying the sights, and we were driving to a local hardware store because we needed to do some home repairs. And as we were taking in the new sights and really just enjoying the quaintness of the town, we were also taking note of some things that could use some improvements. And I said to Chris, I said, wouldn't it be really nice if we could start some type of charity for this town that would involve kind of sprucing it up? And everybody wins in that respect. So then with that idea, we then became members and then spoke to you about it.
And then we hit the ground running.
Yes.
Exactly, and that's pretty much how the entire, I guess, the ball gets rolled. It starts with an idea, which then goes into a foundation that you start laying down, start meeting and connecting with local business people, professionals like yourself. That kind of gives the momentum and legs to the project. And then in a matter of 6 months, we were able to figure out what we wanted to do, start an event, which was leveraging off of the event, though.
The trick or treat.
Oh yeah, the trick or treat.
Yes.
Sorry,
Trick or treat.
Yes.
We did the movie on the lawn.
Correct.
That was great.
Yes.
That was fun. I remember when you came, this is an important part of this, is that in combining people's interests with being able to give back. So you guys had some interest in these kind of pop culture scary movies and things. So we incorporated that into that event, which was great. And then we also got one of our corporate sponsors already.
Right. We ended up getting, we actually made a very generous contribution with $3,000 from the Newtown Savings Bank, which also gave momentum to the project. But it also showed us the want of the local community and local business owners to give to such a great charity, to give back to the community.
Yeah, when you guys mentioned it to me, I immediately was drawn to it because there's no downside.
Right.
It's win, 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 win all over the place,
exactly.
right? So it's a wonderful idea and concept, and we'll elaborate a little bit more on that. But what it does, what we're doing with Neighbors Help Neighbors is using these funds from the events as well as our corporate sponsors to do exterior home repairs and painting
Yes.
for local homeowners that have maybe fallen on some hard times.
Exactly.
And we all go there from time to time, and how nice to have the community be able to give back for something like that. And not only does it help them, but it helps the home value of everyone around them, right? So it's just exponential.
Right.
And so the businesses, when we started to bring it up to them, they were, Newtown Savings Bank is like, I'm in, and we're talking to some other companies now as well. And the interesting thing for our viewers to know is that we're in the process right now of, we're not doing this, but through social services, they're taking applications. So if you are at home or interested in learning more about this, you can go to social services in Bethel and you can get an application to fill out. So what we're going to be doing with that is also vetting some of the painters and contractors, so that we can make sure that it's done professionally, but we are very open to volunteers to help these professional contractors, right?
Very open.
Yes, we love volunteers. It'll be fun times. So yeah, it was a great idea. And what have you thought about the whole process of it? Because it's fairly new for you guys to do something like this, right?
Sure, I think it's conceptualizing a great charity or a great project, but I think ultimately it comes down to execution, and that's one thing that we always strive to kind of get ingrained in whatever project we take forward. But the execution sometimes may come across a little overwhelming at times. But again, having proper supports like yourself and the local community, it makes it a little bit easier to execute, to ensure that everything comes together.
Yes.
And also the response from the community too. After that event, we were able to then incorporate Bethel Cinema into this, and we did an awesome movie night where they were able to donate a portion of their proceeds to this cause as well. So slowly but surely the community is coming together to kind of be on board and understand that it's about neighbors just helping one another.
That's right.
Neighbors
That's where
help neighbors.
Neighbors help neighbors.
Exactly.
That's where it came from. I
Right.
love that. And actually, the owner of Bethel Cinema, I believe, ended up giving the entire all the proceeds from that specific evening to Neighbors Help Neighbors. So people really, they get excited, they're behind it. But what you hit on, Chris, is really important. When anyone has an idea like this, it's great, right? It's inspired thinking, but doing it is not always as glamorous, right?
Right.
Yeah, and all of those different projects, and being able to kind of break it down, chunk it down, and say, okay, we're going to do this one event, and what do we want to get out of it, and who can help us with that? And all right, that's down, that's awesome, let's do this other one. So to be able to break it down and take those action steps to make it happen, that's what differentiates. There's a lot of great ideas out there, but being able to take action on it, follow through, be consistent, that's how these things really come to fruition. And I'm just thrilled that you guys walked in the door with the idea and were willing to take the action afterward. Sometimes meeting on Sundays.
Right. A lot of times meeting on
Yeah.
Sundays. What's also nice about this too, though, is that this isn't a finite project. It's not a finite fundraiser or charity. It's something that will roll out indefinitely and hopefully grow its own legs and just be self-sustaining. So what's nice to know about that is there isn't a pressured timeline.
Right.
So we will be able to hopefully perfect this process. Maybe.
No, I love that.
Right. With time.
Striving for perfection. But,
exactly.
But you're right, though, in that a lot of people, when we first mention it to them, love the idea of, wow, this is something that's going to take on and we could do every year.
Right.
So the first year maybe we can end up doing, depending on the final corporate sponsorships, but a couple of homes. But then as it grows and more events we continue to give back to the charity, and the proceeds from each of the events go to that, it'll just get bigger and bigger and better. Right. So I'm very excited about that. Yes. So it's coming spring, so we do have some work that we still have to do. So anybody who wants to get involved in that, they can go to Bethel Chamber and discoverbethelct.com, or call the office and get some more information about volunteering for that. So I wanted to kind of go back a little bit and ask about, so you had some fun things going on recently.
Yes.
And the Inspired Educator title sometimes makes people say, tell me more, right?
Right.
It's kind of intriguing.
Yes.
So tell me more.
Sure. So I have a long, well, semi-long, some would say it's long, but some might say it's pretty short, background in education, almost 10 years. And I have a history of art and music, and my first degree is in art, actually. So that is the true root of my Inspired Educator name, I guess you could call it, or subtitle. Because when you can see something through a creative lens, and when you can see your students through a creative lens, it really helps to draw a holistic picture for them, and it helps to create a really nice integrated approach to the most appropriate ways to reach your students, and the most engaging ways to reach your students. I have a background in public education. I'm also a private tutor, and I just recently started to work with Workspace in Bethel, Connecticut. So that's a very exciting facility that is, you know, bringing in a whole new paradigm shift to the education field.
It is. It's fascinating. It's a great concept what they're doing. The building's crazy.
It's beautiful.
It is so ridiculously lovely, and what they're going to be able to do there for homeschooling students, and I believe it. You know, who knows? It's unstoppable. But for right now. Anything else that you want to share about what's going on?
They have everything that a child and an adult, quite frankly, could possibly want under one roof. And I'm not going to be able to name them all off the top of my head because I'm fairly new into acquainting myself with them. However, they do have, I know, the culinary arts, all types of art in general. They also have woodworking. We're working on academic tracks. Lots of wonderful, holistic, again, approaches to education for children.
I think it's extraordinary. One of the things that I know that they are focusing on as well as the STEM aspect of
STEM.
it. And when I took the tour, the thing that stood out for me was they had, if one of the kids came up and said, you know what, I want to build a jet engine, they have the space to be able to say, okay, we're going to give you this hangar over here. Go build yourself a nice jet engine. Because it doesn't limit them in that whole creative aspect of it. If they have an idea, what they're going to do is be able to come up with solutions on how to make it happen instead of what sometimes can happen with education, where it's, oh, you know, that's a nice idea, but that could never really happen, right? I mean, that's not, but that's totally opposite of what their focus is, I think, right?
Exactly. It's limitless, truly limitless. And like I said, anything you could imagine as a child, as an adult, anything whatsoever, it is underneath that roof, and it is wonderful. It's about time.
I know, a long time coming, and I'm very, very excited about it. And what a great fit.
Right.
You know, great fit. All right, so Chris, so tell me a little bit more. I mean, I know you are also very creative, but in a different way, in the business area, right?
Yes.
So as a local entrepreneur, you may not be able to give any kind of details or anything, but is there anything that you'd like to share about that process of being an entrepreneur? And what do you like best about it?
I think it's the freedom of putting, I guess, your thoughts and your dreams into motion in terms of running or operating a small business. But that comes without saying that you definitely need the critical experiences, the exposure, and the education. I got my first degree in business management, which kind of gave me the foundation to really know that my heart and soul is kind of wanting a little bit more than the 9 to 5. But again, also realizing that I'm going to need a little more education. So I had gotten a second bachelor's in accounting, so I can kind of get my mind wrapped around and push forward with cost accounting. because you have to know what your costs are, you have to know what your gross profit are, and you have to know what your end result is, which is your net profit. With those key pieces, and Samantha over here, who's a great inspiration. We've been able to manifest 4 businesses over 10 years, but the most successful one is the Big Top Baggage Wagon. And I think that really came into play when we moved to Bethel. It was a feeling that you just felt right in your chest when you when we moved here, and then of course the name Big Top Baggage Wagon.
Big Top.
Correct.
P.T. Barnum, yes, paying homage to where we are. Absolutely.
Yes,
so I feel like all the positive vibes that we're putting out there is coming back to us.
Oh, it definitely is.
A very good way.
Well, it's fascinating what you're doing with, and you've got such amazing, beautiful pieces too. So a lot of really good things that you're doing there. And I just want to point out the fact that you knew. I mean, I work a lot with entrepreneurs. Always amazing ideas, and usually they'll have some type of technical expertise in an area, and that's why they want to open a business in that area. But if they're not successful, it usually is because they don't have that numbers background that enables them to keep the business viable.
Yes.
So it was really smart of you to think, okay, if this is what I want to do, what do I need to go back and learn?
Right.
So that I can be most successful.
And I think the key is that you can't stop, right? I mean, you probably know better than anybody else. So you learn from failure, you learn from mistakes, and you say to yourself, I'm going to make that mistake one time. And after that one time, I'm never going to do that same mistake twice. And you keep pushing forward till you make maybe your second mistake. But now you know not to make 2 mistakes.
Right,
so
right.
it just keeps going forward as long as your drive is there. So.
Exactly. And those mistakes, sometimes people get caught up in those, but the most successful people in the world have made the most mistakes, and you have to make those mistakes so that you get the lessons.
Right.
Exactly.
But if you're focusing on what can I learn from this, then you're on the right track and continuing to take action instead of being halted by the concept of it being a failure, but it's not.
Right.
So that's fantastic. Well, let's speak to that for a moment. I'm going to give you a choice. You can choose to tell me either something from your past that has taught you a lesson. It could be from something good, or one of those mistakes that we talked about, or one of those life lessons that came up that helped create who you are today.
That's a great question. I would say, we'll say over 5 years ago, well over 5 years ago, I was on a medication. I have an autoimmune disease, and I was on a heavy-duty medication for it, and my body didn't respond well to it. It was one of those things where you hear the disclaimers in the commercial at the very end, and that's what happened to me. So I got really, really sick, and I was rushed to a local hospital, and I was put on a transplant list for this medication. But slowly but surely, after they yanked me off the medication while I was in the hospital, I started to get better. So I never needed the transplant or anything like that. But I have to live with damaged organs, with scar tissue on them, and I just have to maintain a very healthy lifestyle. And it sounds really traumatic, and it really truly was, but Chris was next to me we were just newly budding relationship at the time, so it was really for better or for worse, really early on. And he stuck by me every single day, and it was really a testament to him and us. I mean, I got through it too. But afterward, you live with this parameter and within these constraints, or a new understanding, I should say, of how to live your life after dealing with something scary, right? But it taught us to live so healthy and so grateful. And I guess I could just stop at, it taught us to live. Honestly, it truly did. And our life is so much better now for it. Every day it gets better and better.
That's one of the reasons why we ended up moving where we moved.
Exactly.
If that didn't occur, if we didn't meet, then this wouldn't be what it is today.
Everything happens for a reason.
Truly.
Right?
It's all connected.
I love it. And I love the focus on gratitude.
Yes.
It makes all the difference in the world, because everybody has challenges that come up.
Sure.
And it's all in what you focus on when that happens. Are you finding what to be grateful for and what you guys learned from that, the connection that you have as a couple, the gratitude for being alive and that healthy lifestyle. Other people may not have made those same choices and how to look at it, and that impacts where they would go, right? And so they may not be the ones saying, you know, it gets better and better every day, right? It's you choose those thoughts, you choose your perspective, and you guys. That's why when the first thing I said to you, I said you guys came in and you just had this amazing energy about you. It totally resonated with me because it's how I try to live my life too, and you can feel it emanating from you even before you started talking about these amazing give backs. I'm like, I knew it. I knew they were going to be cool.
You caught us.
Yeah, that's pretty good. So, what are some of the things that have helped you to stay passionate and positive? Is there anything else that, like, what do you do that helps keep you that way?
Vision board. I think a vision board is, I think, how many vision boards have we made in the last 3 weeks?
I thought you were going to say a year, and I was like, it's weeks. There's so many. It's the truth.
It's right. 'Cause, I mean, you could set yourself a goal, and you can make it an achievable goal, and sure, you can reach it. But how far can you go? You need to set it as high as you want. And yeah, I mean, you could set something incredibly high that may not be unachievable, but can you get close enough? When you get to the third step, maybe from that top, what can that spur out to become? Maybe it's a whole new path that you didn't think that would occur in the first place. I mean, like we just said, in 3 weeks, I think we have about 5 vision boards, all on back in front of the same piece of paper. So
they're not these huge boards that are all over our house, but they're like lists, creative lists.
What do you do with them? Do you hang them so that you can see them?
We do. Start on the fridge, and now there's a few sitting on our...
We rotate them so that it kind of keeps it in our line of vision. And instead of your eye getting used to where it is, we know exactly. And then we kind of change which one we want to be looking at because they're all appropriate for what we're working towards.
A
funny thing, not a funny thing, but an important thing to do with the vision boards is it's enforcing you to work and work for what you want, but to balance the moments of work with gratitude for where you are. That's a constant practice too, because if you're working for always attaining a goal, sometimes you're looking ahead so much that you forget to kind of just stay present and be balanced with the gratitude that we were just speaking of.
That's beautiful. That's so important. And the vision aspect of the vision board, I think also has an interesting way of manifesting it, because sometimes you don't even, just seeing the vision of it, and you may not always know how to get there, but sometimes, it's provided for you, and it's a focus thing where it's. All right, let me give you an example. So I have been writing for years, and for articles and things for magazines, and I had always wanted to write a book, but I didn't really do anything about it. And then one year I put it on my vision board, and just being there and seeing the picture of it, I guess it caused me to focus on that. And so when I sat next to an author and I was asking some questions, and he said, you just have to do it. And then I'm like, okay. So I called somebody and I called another person, and then I got a publishing deal. And then I'm like, oh man, now I got to write the book.
Now I got to do stuff.
But it's that follow through too. So you've got the vision, you've got the goals, you're staying present and real and grateful, but you need to take the actions on it too, so that you can make it happen. And that's what you were talking about, keep working and working toward things. So we have about 5 more minutes, and so I would like you, what do you have? Do you have any immediate or in the next year, either for Neighbors Help Neighbors or for your own lives, or something that you'd like to share from your vision board with us?
It's good, actually, and it's pretty much all 3 of those things. Because ultimately, we would love to be in Bethel full time, doing all 3 of those.
Meaning our work as well, right.
Currently, we're commuting to different locations for work, but our one goal is to be within the town, working, living, and helping within the next 12 months as a full-time job.
I love it. I know that you're going to make that happen, and I'm going to help. I can't help it.
You're so good at helping.
So I know that, specifically for Neighbors Help Neighbors, there are things that if somebody's inspired by you, they can either apply for it or they can offer to help and volunteer. Is there anything else that you can think of that we should, let people know about when it comes to that? Or because they can call my office, and if they have ideas or anything that you'd like to do a call out to?
Any donations, truly, whatsoever, would be, wonderful.
Time
absolutely, yes, like the volunteers are always needed, as we mentioned before. Volunteering, any type of donation would be definitely useful for this. So.
Okay, so the discoverbethelct.com can have some information on that. And all right. Now I'm going to ask an adventure question. So I'm an adventurer, you know that. So if there was one crazy thing that, this adventure of your life, what do you think you'd like to do?
Ooh, that's a good question.
This adventure,
I think what you're doing is
I was just going to say.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like just because we ask ourselves every day, is this in line with what we want? And even though we're in the middle of it and we don't maybe fully realize that the adventure is always going to take it to the next step, we don't necessarily know where it's taking us, but always having a positive mindset and wanting to do it, I guess, is its own adventure in itself. But I guess
so the not knowing part is the adventure,
I guess
isn't
the
it?
exploration of moving forward in the whole unknown, people like to say, that whole mass unknown.
Definitely, because we say yes to a lot of opportunities, even if we kind of half understand them, or half think we might be equipped to deal with them. We still say yes because it's important to, and every time we say yes, it has brought us to a new version of ourselves too. So you never know your own bounds or lack of limitations, really.
Right. And if you don't have all the answers, you can find people that do have the answers, and you know that it's that continual process of growth and being open. So just say yes.
Just say
awesome.
yes.
I love it.
Say yes,
so we're,
don't take no.
Don't take
figure it
no.
out later.
Exactly. Say yes and figure it out later. I like that.
So we are wrapping up now. It's just 30 seconds left.
Wow.
Any last words of wisdom?
Just thank you, honestly. This isn't a word of wisdom, but just thank you for being you, honestly.
Right. I mean, making all this come true within literally less than a year and a half. Never would have thought that we would be doing this and working so well together with you or the town.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been so much fun. So much fun for me. And I can't wait until we do the painting. So thank you, everyone, and hope you enjoyed the time with Sam and Chris. And so,